In the humdrum rhythm of a routine cross-country flight, a single, reckless act ripped through the fragile veneer of civility. A domineering flight attendant, without provocation, struck a passenger whose quiet dignity spoke volumes. But in a twist no one saw coming, this passenger, instead of erupting in anger, calmly made a phone call that unleashed a cascade of consequences, forever altering the trajectory of multiple lives. Sona unearths the chilling truth of how one ill-considered moment not only shattered a deeply ingrained sense of privilege, but also ignited a power struggle with repercussions that reverberate far beyond the cramped confines of the cabin. Prepare to be enthralled as this remarkable story unfolds, challenging your perceptions of authority, respect, and the devastating price of unchecked pride. The tension in the air had been thickening long before the fateful moment. As the jetliner soared smoothly above a fluffy expanse of clouds, Eleanor Vance sat quietly in the business class section. Her modest attire did little to conceal the inherent grace she possessed. Her eyes, thoughtful and deep, hinted at a lifetime of trials overcome, a silent testament to the resilience forged in the crucible of adversity. Meanwhile, Brenda Sterling, a veteran flight attendant, celebrated, and perhaps feared, for her meticulously pressed uniform and imperious demeanor, navigated the aisle with a purpose. Each deliberate step seemed to broadcast an unspoken conviction. Her years of service had somehow granted her the unassailable right to judge everyone around her. From the moment their paths intersected, Brenda's scrutiny of Eleanor was relentless. A simple request to see Eleanor's boarding pass quickly escalated into a veiled inquisition, a thinly disguised challenge to her presence in the premium section. Brenda's tone implied, as clearly as if she'd spoken the words aloud, that business class was the exclusive domain of those who flaunted their wealth and status. Whispers rippled among the nearby passengers. Disbelief mingled with a growing sense of injustice directed at Eleanor. Some cast furtive glances, while others murmured about the misplaced arrogance of an attendant who seemed to measure a person's worth by the glint of a designer handbag or the label on their shoes. As the flight progressed, the atmosphere grew increasingly oppressive. Minor, seemingly insignificant incidents began to weave together a suffocating tapestry of perceived indignity. A mistakenly activated call button drew a snide remark from Brenda, dripping with condescension. Every clipped comment about Eleanor's unadorned appearance, every subtle gesture intended to diminish her presence, chipped away at Brenda's carefully constructed facade of authority. Eleanor, however, maintained an unwavering composure. Her silence wasn't submission, but a powerful statement of self-respect in the face of unwarranted scorn. It was as if she possessed an inner reservoir of strength that Brenda's petty attempts at humiliation simply couldn't touch. The situation reached its boiling point when Eleanor rose to use the restroom. This simple act, as ordinary as breathing, became the focal point of Brenda's escalating animosity. Blocking the narrow aisle, jaw set in a rigid line, Brenda confronted Eleanor with a barrage of pointed, accusatory questions. The exchange quickly spiraled into a confrontation crackling with barely suppressed animosity. Words were exchanged that spoke less of protocol and procedure and more of deep-seated prejudice. Brenda's simmering frustration finally boiled over at the mere sight of a passenger who didn't conform to her narrow, outdated expectations of what a business-class traveler should be. Then, in a moment that seemed to stretch into an eternity, the unthinkable happened. Brenda's hand, propelled by a toxic cocktail of anger and wounded pride, lashed out, striking Eleanor across the face with a sharp, resounding slap. The sound echoed through the cabin. For a split second, time itself seemed to grind to a halt. The entire aircraft fell into stunned silence. Every eye turned towards the scene, a silence heavy with shock and disbelief. Yet, amidst the hushed gasps and wide-eyed stares, Eleanor's reaction was nothing short of extraordinary. Rather than recoiling in anger or bursting into tears, she calmly reached for her cell phone. Her voice, when she spoke, was measured and devoid of any hint of emotional turmoil. She placed a call that would irrevocably alter the course of the flight, and, as it would turn out, many lives. That single phone call unleashed a chain reaction. On the other end, a voice of authority answered briskly, a voice that carried the weight of decisions made in polished boardrooms and the quiet command of immense power. The conversation was curt, efficient, and imbued with the steely assurance of someone accustomed to correcting wrongs swiftly and decisively. It was a call that not only signaled immediate consequences but also exposed the underlying truth: respect and dignity are non-negotiable, regardless of rank or uniform. As the repercussions of the assault rippled through the cabin, the atmosphere shifted from shocked silence to palpable accountability. Fellow crew members, once silent observers of the unfolding drama, began to murmur among themselves, their expressions a mix of concern and apprehension. A senior executive of the airline soon joined the narrative, his face an unreadable mask that left little room for negotiation. In the cockpit, where responsibility and order reigned supreme, Brenda was summoned without delay. There, the cold efficiency of airline protocol collided with her personal misjudgment. Questions were asked and answered in a tone that brooked no excuses, every word reinforcing the fundamental principle that authority must be exercised with humility and fairness. The turning point came with the arrival of a figure whose very presence transformed the charged atmosphere into one of undeniable gravity. Without fanfare or dramatic pronouncements, Victor Rajan, the owner of the airline and Eleanor's husband, stepped forward. His entrance was marked not by theatricality, but by a calm, commanding aura that silenced even the most skeptical whispers. With measured, deliberate words, he recounted the incident, emphasizing that the breach of respect and abuse of power were unacceptable, regardless of one's tenure or position within the company. His message was unequivocal. Every person, regardless of status or appearance, is entitled to dignity and fair treatment. For Victor, the events of that flight weren't just a lapse in judgment, they were a violation of a core principle that underpinned the very ethos of the airline. It was an issue that hit close to home. In a quiet but firm meeting held shortly after landing, Victor delivered his verdict. There was no room for negotiation or leniency. The documentation was precise and unyielding. Brenda's employment was terminated, and with it, the years of service and the illusion of authority she once wielded evaporated in a single, irrevocable moment. As the official letter of termination was handed over, the full weight of her actions settled over her like an inescapable burden. The dismissal wasn't merely a punitive measure, it was a profound lesson in the essential nature of empathy and respect. Throughout this ordeal, Eleanor's conduct remained a beacon of integrity. She never retaliated with anger or sought to escalate the conflict. Instead, her calm demeanor and measured response underscored the true meaning of strength. In choosing to remain composed, she demonstrated that real power lies not in dominance or coercion, but in the quiet assurance of one's own worth. Her behavior offered a stark contrast to the chaos that ensued, a living example of how dignity can prevail even in the most challenging circumstances. As passengers disembarked and the events of the flight were slowly digested, a broader reflection began to take shape among everyone on board. The incident had evolved into more than just an isolated act of misconduct. It had become a vivid reminder that respect is the cornerstone of any community, whether in the confined space of an aircraft or the expansive world beyond. The airline, too, took swift steps to reaffirm its commitment to ethical conduct and professional courtesy, ensuring that the lessons from this day would foster a culture where every individual is valued for who they are, rather than for the image they project. Real Life Stories Revealed presents this account not as a mere tale of downfall, but as a compelling narrative of accountability and transformation. The story of that mid-flight confrontation serves as an educational beacon, a call to all who hold positions of power to remember that their authority is granted by the trust and respect of others. In every interaction, no matter how seemingly insignificant, lies the opportunity to build or break that trust. And for those who choose the path of arrogance and prejudice, the consequences can be swift and irrevocable. In the aftermath of the incident, as Brenda was escorted through the terminal, her belongings gathered in a mortifying silence. The message was unequivocal. No one is above the fundamental human right to be treated with courtesy and decency. Her fall from grace, as painful as it was public, stands as a testament to the fact that true authority is inseparable from compassion. Each step she took away from the aircraft was a step away from a life built on the illusion of superiority, a life that now had to be rebuilt from the ground up, if at all possible. This incident, shared with care and integrity by Real Life Stories Revealed, ultimately calls upon all of us to reflect on our own behavior. It challenges us to recognize that the power we wield is only as meaningful as the respect we show to others. By embracing empathy and fostering genuine human connection, we can transform moments of conflict into opportunities for growth and redemption. The flight that began as an everyday journey ended as a profound lesson in the true essence of strength, a lesson that will resonate long after the final boarding call has faded into memory. In the aftermath of that fateful flight, Brenda's once unyielding attitude has given way to a humbling realization. Facing the consequences of her actions, she now understands that true strength lies in acknowledging our own shortcomings and treating others with sincere respect. Her fall from grace has sparked a profound transformation, a quiet yet undeniable shift in perspective that teaches us all the importance of empathy over authority. As the echoes of the incident continue to remind us that no one is beyond accountability, the lessons learned ripple through every corner of our lives. A single moment of unchecked arrogance has become a catalyst for change, emphasizing that real power is earned through compassion and understanding, not through imposing dominance. Let this unforgettable chapter be a call to reflect on how we interact with others. If you found this story as moving as we did, please like and share it.